I'll call the meeting to order. Meeting of the Carver Select Board for Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. This meeting is being cablecast by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 15, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. There are openings in several committees. Please refer to the Select Board page on our website for a listing and application. If we could all stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hoffman, could you read our community prayer?
Sure. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek, and keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. The first item on our agenda this evening is citizens' participation. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? No?
Hi, my name is Brenda Bacall. Do you need my address, or I'm not really sure how you guys do it here?
Fine. That's fine.
So I just needed a little bit of clarification if the board could so indulge. I watched the meeting last time. This is in regards to the wells at Cranberry Village. And you guys voted to put it on town warrant as it was written?
We voted to put the warrant article on.
Yeah, so the article is written the way it's written. There isn't anything working with us possibly leasing, or you guys voted it the way it is. The warrant is going to go to town meeting the way it's written?
That's as it is right now.
Okay, so I keep getting all of these comments about leasing the wells. We maintain everything, we pay a lease rate to you guys, and I don't understand where it's coming from. Well, I do understand where it's coming from, and I guess I'm here to say I don't want it anymore. I don't need private messages from select board members telling me how we should handle our wells and stuff. So I wanted to make sure that it's going on the way that it was written to go on, correct?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay. Do you have the verbiage? Or is there a place I could get a copy of the way the verbiage is?
Ms. Weston, could you get her a copy of it?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
We'll get you a copy.
We have it. It's in draft form
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, so
And did it come from town council? Is that how you guys got it?
Yes,
Written up that way?
The former
it's come
interim
from
TA sent
Yes.
it to council.
Okay, so I probably then still have it. Okay, so then there's no reason that we have to work a lease deal or any of that?
right now, that's the way it is on the warrant.
Okay, so
Okay.
it'll be up to town meeting?
Yeah. And,
Town meeting could do whatever town meeting wants.
Exactly.
but it will, but it has to appear on the warrant.
Yes,
Once it goes to be published, that's the way it is.
okay.
And I don't know what you think, Mark, but I would suspect you couldn't change it that drastically because you have to notice the people. And selling, giving it, or bestowing it, however you want to put it, is very different from leasing it.
Yeah, so I guess I don't understand-
Normally, citizens'
Thank you.
participation is more of a, you let us know your thoughts, and it's not a back and forth discussion, because it's not an
Okay,
agenda.
I'm
item.
sorry.
No, that's fine, there's no.
So my thoughts, I will let you know. Please stop Facebook messaging me, coming behind the board's back with all of these crazy things. This is how it's going to go. The residents will decide what happens with our wells. I appreciate it, but I don't need you coming in, mucking up the waters for something that's been worked on forever.
Just so you're aware, I'm not trying, we certainly appreciate your thoughts. It's just that there is no agenda item for this, so we
No,
can't we
I
can't have a
understand. I
back
should
and
have
forth
been here last
discussion
week.
because there's
No, I
agenda
understand.
item.
There is an agenda because I keep getting harassed by a select board member. So I wanted it publicly known that this is what he's doing for the rest of the board to know. and that the residents of Cranberry Village don't appreciate it. So, that's it.
Thank you, we appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Mr. Chairman, could we put that on the agenda for next meeting, please?
We'll have a conversation, Mr. Belvin. Are there any other members of the board that would like to, any other members of the public who would like to address the board? Seeing none. The next item on our agenda is an update on the Hillwood public safety issue, on various Hillwood public safety issues from Fire Chief Craig Weston. Chief? Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate all our public safety officers, chiefs joining us tonight. Thank you.
So, good evening and thank you for having me here tonight. This is kind of a follow-up to the December Select Board meeting where I gave you an update on the potential Hillwood project and the impacts to public safety. EMS Chief Ryan, Police Chief Dufilly, and Emergency Management Chief Walsh are also here, and they can certainly answer any questions you have that I might not be able to answer. As you're aware, the developer named Hillwood is looking to construct a 1.8 million square foot distribution facility split into 2 buildings in the North Carver Business Park District. Given the size of the project and its location of the town's the town's public safety chiefs have significant concerns in how such a development will draw on the town's resources and our ability to provide critical public safety services, not only for the development, but for the town as a whole. Over the past year, the Carver Fire Department has been meeting with representatives of the Hillwood Company in regards to impacts to public safety. Over the past few months, the town's public safety chiefs, police, EMS, emergency management, and fire have been in discussions with Hillwood's representatives concerning potential mitigation to offset the increased demands that the proposed development will have on the town's resources. Those discussions have been very productive, and Hillwood has demonstrated an intent to cooperate with the town to ensure that its development does not unduly burden the town and jeopardize public safety. We are now close to an agreement where Hillwood will agree to implement certain public safety features that go above and beyond minimum code compliance, and to donate funds to the town's 3 public safety agencies to allow them to purchase equipment, vehicles, train, and hire additional staff to enable the town to meet the increased public safety demands of this project. Although Hillwood has pledged more than $6.8 million for this purpose, Hillwood understands that an agreement to provide public safety mitigation does not guarantee that this project will be permitted to go forward, and that it will not be guaranteed any special treatment in the permitting process. While the public safety chiefs do not take a position on the merits of the project itself, we are very satisfied with the mitigation being offered, and that the citizens and taxpayers of the town will not be adversely affected from a public safety standpoint once the agreed-upon mitigation measures are provided. The next step, and currently in process, is to have town council prepare a formal agreement to memorialize the promises made by Hillwood. I have been advised that we can expect that agreement to be ready for execution by the Select Board at the March 7th, 2022 meeting. Your public safety chiefs, your town administrator, and members of the RDA have worked extremely hard to develop a mitigation agreement we feel is appropriate. At an upcoming Select Board meeting, I would ask that the members of the Select Board support this mitigation agreement, allowing Carver Public Safety to be provided with critical apparatus, equipment, trainings, and personnel being provided by Hillwood at no cost to the town, if, and only if, construction of this large project moves forward. Your support of the mitigation agreement should not be construed or interpreted as your support of the project as a whole. That would obviously be your independent decisions at a town meeting or as a board. Your support for the mitigation agreement should only be looked at as support for public safety, taking a proactive approach, ensuring proper safety measures can and will be implemented within the proposed facility. Without a mitigation agreement in place, we cannot guarantee that will happen. I would call upon my fellow chiefs, and certainly Mr. Fennessy, to clean up anything I said. There's probably something there.
We don't have that much time.
And thank you. So,
Thank you. I just want to take a minute to thank you, Chief Weston, and all the chiefs for all the hard work you've put in on this. 'Cause I know it's taken many, many, many hours, and just know that on behalf of the town, we really appreciate all the work you've put into this. And just one quick thing, you mentioned that something was going to be ready for our March 7th Select Board meeting. I think you probably meant the March 15th Select Board meeting, 'cause that's the next Select Board meeting.
you could be right. That's what I have to say that.
But that's fine. With that, questions from the board? Ms. Hewens?
I don't really have a question. I just appreciate your coming in to talk with us, Chief. And I appreciate your saying that although you would like us to sign this agreement, and I agree, I think we should, it shouldn't be, our signing the agreement should not be construed as approval of the project. And I really appreciate that fine distinction.
That's how we feel.
Yeah.
This is trying to support public safety and what we feel is best for a development that's being proposed, and to put us in the best spot to protect our residents. But you might feel different, as far as the project as a whole. So we understand that.
It's a different question.
Different question, in my opinion.
Yeah. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Can I just ask, can you make sure that we have it well in advance of the meeting so we can read it?
I will pass it on to the powers to be, and we will.
And then will you or someone be here next time if we have questions about the actual agreement, the contents and stuff?
If we need them, we'll do that.
Okay.
It's up to you if you're available.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ms. Bogan, I'll do anything you ask me to do. I'll try to be as transparent as we can here. I try to be respectful to the board and Mr. Fennessy. And, we've done our due diligence to pass this on to legal counsel, and they're looking at it right now. And I'm sure Mr. Fennessy will try to get you it as soon as he can, and try to get any questions you got done. But I mean, we're trying to go through a process to get it to where it needs to be. So.
Mr. Chair, so if
Mr. Fennessy.
one second, I just want to say too, that this wasn't done like on a quick period of time. This predates me getting here by months and months of meetings of 12 to 15 people, sometimes twice a month, to come up with this now document that'll be presented to the board that covers police, fire, EMS, and other things. So I think I want to thank them too, because again, it predates me. And I know since I've been here, it's been one of the major things that I've been doing with them that takes a lot of my time. And I can only imagine how much it took for the time of the chiefs that were involved and the other committee members that took part in all those meetings to get to this point. So it's a great mitigation process and result that's coming forward. So I think everybody will be really happy when they see it.
Thank you. And that just, I agree, many hours have gone into this, and the chiefs are absolutely correct. Support for the mitigation agreement does not imply support for the project. It just implies support for our public safety departments. So, again, thank you for all the time, the many hours you all have put into this. Mr. Belvin.
Yes. I agree wholeheartedly with you guys taking all the time and effort into this. You had said something about higher staff. What kind of staff are we talking? And is it going to be funded in perpetuity? Or is this just a one-time, here we go, we'll pay for this year, and then the town pick up the cost after?
I would, Mr. Bellman, I'd probably defer, so I want to be as transparent as I can.
Yeah.
We're trying to work the agreement out with Hillwood. And I'll let either Chief Ryan or Chief Dufley explain their needs. What we've looked at in the agreement is probably a certain time period for staff.
Okay.
Right now, we're looking at a 3-year period.
Okay.
Where they would cover the cost for 3 years.
Right.
And, Chief Dufley or Chief Ryan, do you have anything you want to
All
add?
right,
or-
that's good. That's
Yeah,
fine. That
okay.
gives us a good ballpark. And then, Mr. Chairman, we have it on March 15. Just to let it go to town meeting and not really have any confusion about this, maybe voting on it after town meeting instead of before town meeting might be I don't know if that's part of the agreement with you guys that we
Yeah,
get
I
this done
think-
before town meeting.
Sure, so Mr. Belvin, our goal all along has to be get this to you and hopefully with your support prior to town meeting. Public safety does not want to be put in a position at town meeting of having any influence for public safety on this project, okay? That should be voted on the zoning article and the merits of the zoning article. If we don't have a mitigation agreement in place, there's no way that public safety can properly recommend or support anything to do with this project. So that's why we've worked so hard to get this done prior to town meeting, so that at town meeting, we know that we've got in place what we need for public safety and let the taxpayers vote on the merits of the article. So it's a good question, but I think we would strongly recommend that this be supported prior to town meeting. And we understand that time is of the essence, and that's why we're working with Mr. Fennessy to get it to you and hopefully get you to support it. I know you'll obviously look at it, and it is very well written, it's very well thought out, and it's certainly in the best interest of the town of Carver. There's 100% in the best interest of the town of Carver if a development goes forward, okay? So I would strongly advise that we take care of this prior to town meeting.
I just,
Chair?
I think that's important.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree with Chief Weston, because if we were to bring this agreement to town meeting, now you're confusing the two issues of whether we support the project versus whether we support the mitigation agreement. And I think it's very important to keep them separate.
Mr. Hoffman.
So just to clarify for myself and anyone listening, so the mitigation agreement doesn't have to go before town meeting. Mitigation agreement gets approved by the select board.
That is correct.
Okay,
As I understand it, that's correct.
okay,
The only item before town meeting is the height, change.
great, okay. Just want to make sure, because I know talking about town meeting and the mitigation, just want to make sure everybody realizes that that's the only thing being at town meeting is the
Yep.
project, okay. Thank
just
you.
one last thing. Yeah, and Chief, as we've spoken in the past,
Yep.
whatever you say, I go with, because you guys know what's going on, okay? But I'm devil's advocate also. I gotta turn around and ask the questions that people don't wanna ask, so that's why I do it.
We try to be as transparent as we can, Mr. Belvin, you know that.
Yeah.
know
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Anything else? The other chiefs have anything they'd like to add? Thank you, Chief Weston.
Thank you for giving me a minute, and thanks Chief Weston for taking care of that. He did an excellent job. I just want to speak to the point about whether we should get this signed ahead of time. We've all done our due diligence, and I've talked to a lot of police chiefs in different towns that have distribution facilities, and I think it's very important we work this agreement forward now and get it signed before any votes are taken, because after that, you don't know what you're going to give cooperation, and I think it's important to make sure we have this document that all the chiefs have worked so hard on, and the company, they've been very cooperative, but that might change depending on the vote at town meeting, and we don't want to try to negotiate after the fact with them, I don't think. It's at least in the experience of other police chiefs for other places that weren't able to secure these type of agreements. I don't think we want to miss that opportunity. So I just want to add that I get where you're coming from, but I think it's important that we do it ahead of time. So that's all I wanted to add. I appreciate your consideration, your time, and the chief's work, and I think you'll be happy with the mitigation agreement this will provide for all of our departments so that we can better serve the residents and there's not such a big impact. Something is going to go there. If we don't get this, we're still probably going to need all these, I think, at some point when that property gets developed. So I think we're better off to get it now than later on. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Is there anything else from the board? Anything else, folks? All right. Thank you very much. Moving right along. We are back to our discussion and possible vote for recommendations of draft town meeting articles. And let's see. So we took care of a number of these at our last meeting. Let's see. And Article 1, we voted to put on the warrant, and we took a vote on. Article 2, that will stay for our meeting with the Finance Committee. Thank you, Ms. West. Article 3 is also for our meeting with the Finance Committee, as is Article 4. Let's see. Article 5, we don't, Mr. Fennessy, do we have any information on the unpaid bills for Article 5?
No.
No? Okay. Article 6, is there anything, that's just a placeholder, is there anything for Article 6?
No, not right now.
Okay. Article 7 is also our meeting with the Finance Committee. Article 8, we voted to put on the warrant and approved. Article 9 is the Finance Committee.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I think, yeah, Article 8, we voted to recommend.
We did vote to recommend, yep. Article 9 is the FinCom. We don't have anything on Article 9, do we, Mr. Fennessy?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Not yet.
Article 10, the collective bargaining agreements, anything further there?
No, not, it's in negotiations.
Okay. Article 11, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we voted to put that on the warrant, and we voted to recommend that. Article 12 is the first of the zoning articles. I know at the last meeting, we voted to put these off until after the public hearings. Unfortunately, and Mr. Fennessy, feel free to correct me or elaborate, there was an issue with the posting of the notice for the public hearings for the zoning articles, so those were supposed to take place, was it the second and third?
7th and, I believe it was, it was the second,
Was the
third,
second and
but
third,
it's
but now they're put off to the 31st, correct?
30th and 31st.
So that doesn't give us time to wait till after those to vote to put these on the warrant. I know we wanted to wait just to make sure the wording was correct, but I don't think we can do that anymore. So if there's a wording change, I know I talked to various people on this, and I think if there's a wording change that's necessary, they'd prefer to make that right at town meeting. So I think we should probably vote to put some of these on the warrant, so they're there. I don't think we can wait till our April 5th meeting, so. Is there a vote to put Article 12 on the warrant? A motion to put Article 12 on the warrant.
I'll move that Article 12 be put on the warrant.
Is there a second? Again, we're not recommending it, we're just voting to put it on the warrant.
I'll make that second, just for the purpose of discussion.
All right. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Bell.
Without having the actual verbiage, I don't think it's prudent that we vote on something that we don't know what's going to be in it. So, and if they're going to change it at the last minute, then I'd rather have them have the ducks in a row beforehand.
Well, again, we're just voting to put it on the warrant. We're not voting to recommend or not recommend. We're not gonna vote to recommend any of the zoning articles. So we're just putting it on the warrant.
So would our vote be to put on the warrant after the approved wording is?
Mr. Fennessy,
Yeah.
the wording we have is the correct
The wording
wording.
is, yep. it's-
This is the anticipated wording, correct?
Right, and if there's any changes, then it would be an amendment at town meeting.
At town meeting.
Would be
That-
put
that's right.
forward
So
by
vote-
the
The
planning
vote we
board.
take tonight on this wording is the wording that will go on the town meeting warrant.
So we're just looking to put this on as before us
As
on the
written.
town meeting.
As it is right now.
Okay.
That's
We're
right.
not, like you said, we're not voting to recommend
We're
it.
not voting, we're not gonna take any votes to recommend or not recommend. We're just putting it on the warrant. That's all we're doing. Is there any other discussion on this?
for those watching on TV, maybe we should say what it is, the article.
Okay. Article 12 is the table of dimensional requirements, building height in GDP.
And what is GDP?
What is GDP?
Green
Mr.
Business Park. Which is essentially the North Carver.
That
Project.
is North Carver project. That's exactly what it is. And, Mr. Fennessy, would you recommend that I read the articles in their entirety? There's
No, I
quite
think
lengthy
just to give an
articles.
idea to the people,
Okay.
maybe that first paragraph.
Yeah, okay, I'll read that's right. To see if the town will vote to amend Carver zoning bylaw, section 2320, table of dimensional requirements, maximum building height in feet, to increase the maximum building height in Green Business Park zoning district from 40 feet to a maximum building height of 65 feet. And by replacing the language in footnote numbers 11 and 12, and with new footnotes, and there's some various other language there, and basically, the informational summary, this is designed to establish a clear building height meeting the building program needs, while at the same time clarifying confusing footnote number 11 to define building height and related exclusions, and which appears to have applied only to the GDP, Green Business Park District. Is there any further?
Just a quick comment,
Yes.
Mr. Chair. So footnote 12 reads, municipal facilities may be increased to 40 feet in height, provided they meet all public safety standards, et cetera.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of putting Article 12 on the warrant?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
3 to 2. All right. Article 13. Article 13 is another zoning article. The definitions, height of certain accessory structures. And again, I'll read the first paragraph. To see if the town will vote to amend the Carver zoning bylaw, Article 4, accessory building and structure as shown below, with additions shown in bold and deletions in strike-through, or take any other action thereto. And the informational summary. As to height, the zoning bylaw defines building height, an accessory building or structure. It does not appear a water tower or water tank is a building, so a water tower or tank placed on the project lot would likely be considered an accessory use and structure. There is a height limitation under the zoning definition of accessory building of structure, which shall mean a building or structure subordinate to a principal building or structure and customarily used to serve the purposes of that principal building. A building is accessory only when a principal building exists on the same lot. No accessory building or structure may be higher than 20 feet or 10 feet less than the height of the principal building or structure on the lot, whichever is greater. An accessory building serving the needs of residents of a dwelling may include the following. A garage, tool shed, shop, well house, not exceeding a floor area of 700 square feet. B, a barn or building used to house animals or poultry and not exceeding a floor area of 600 square feet. If, for example, the water tower or tank needs to be 70 feet, a height variance would need to be issued unless a zoning amendment as proposed was approved. All right. Is there a motion to put Article 13 on the warrant?
I'll make a motion to put Article 13 on the warrant.
Is there a second?
I'll second it for the purpose of discussion.
All right, discussion. Questions from the board?
Again, I just think that we should wait for the full planning board to have their discussions to the public.
But again, their public hearings are not going to happen until the end of March, which means we wouldn't have a meeting until April 5th. And that's within 10 days of town meeting. So, again, we're voting on the wording that's in front of us. If they want to change the wording, they would have to come before town meeting and make a motion to change the wording. So we know what wording we're voting on here.
Mr. Chair, so if the planning board has their hearing and they decide not to, that they don't endorse this, or they don't want this, can it then get pulled?
They could pull it on the town meeting floor.
Okay. So I understand what Bob's saying, you want to make sure the planning board is good with this, but if we're under a time constraint, that they can always request to pull the article, correct?
They can, and I agree with Bob. I would prefer to have had the public hearings and all that done before we vote to put these on the warrant. But unfortunately, that is just not possible because of the posting mistake. So there's not much we can do about that. Ms. Ewens.
And if I may, if we don't vote to put it on the warrant, they don't even have what are they going to discuss in the public meeting, the public hearing? So this at least gives them a chance to have that public hearing, move forward or not.
And again, all we're doing is putting it on the warrant. We're not voting to recommend or not recommend, we're just voting to put it on the warrant. That's all we're doing. Any other discussion on Article 13? Seeing none. All in favor of putting Article 13 on the warrant? Aye. Opposed?
No.
3-2. All right. Article 14, another zoning article, access driveways, non-residential premises. To see if the town will vote to amend the Carver zoning bylaw, section 3350, driveway design, as shown below, with additions shown in bold and deletions in strike-through, or take any other action relative thereto. And there's not an informational summary
Well,
for
actually
this.
there is, it's just really long.
Is there? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I apologize, Ms. Ewens. I
It's
didn't,
okay.
I didn't
Shorter
notice
to
it.
read the article.
It is shorter to read the article. But we've done it for the others, so we'll read the informational summary. I appreciate you pointing that out to me, Ms. Ewens. Section 3350 of zoning bylaw24 design provides that access driveways to non-residential premises shall be 12 feet wide for one-way traffic and 24 feet for two-way traffic. Zoning bylaw provides for a driveway width, which is not a minimum or maximum, but an exact width requirement. As to driveways and subdivisions, Section 7.3.7 of the subdivision regulations provides standards for residential subdivision lots which conflict with the zoning requirements, but no standards for driveways for commercial lots as follows. 7 curb cuts. A, driveway serving one dwelling shall be at least 10 feet and not more than 14 feet wide, shall have an opening at the gutter line of at least 16 feet and not more than 22 feet, and where curbing is required, a sloped curb at the intersection with the roadway. B, driveway serving 2 dwellings shall be 22 feet wide, shall have an opening at the gutter line of at least 34 feet, and where curbing is required, a sloped curb at the intersection of the roadway. C, driveways serving more than 2 dwellings shall be 24 feet wide, shall have an opening at the gutter line of at least 36 feet and not more than 54 feet, and where curbing is required, shall have a curb return at the roadway with a radius of at least 6 feet. The fire department may determine that a fire access road conforming to the latest edition of the National Fire Protection Association's Uniform Fire Code is required to service multiple dwellings. There does not appear to be a clear standard for the width of an industrial driveway, although the zoning bylaw mandates an exact width. And the proposed zoning amendment would allow for the planning board, through the site plan review process, to provide for a more flexible driveway width standard based upon user operational requirements, the professional judgment of the traffic professional, and other considerations. It's quite an informational summary. All right. Is there a motion to put Article 14 on the warrant?
I move we put Article 14, access driveways, non-residential premises, on the warrant.
Is there
I'll
a
second that.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of putting Article 14 on the warrant?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
3-2. All right. Article 15. Rezone, another zoning article, rezone from highway commercial HC to green business park GBP district. To see if the town will vote to amend the Carver zoning bylaw and zoning map by rezoning from highway commercial to green business park a parcel of land located off Park and Montello Street consisting of approximately 7.48 acres and identified on Assessor's Map as Map 20, Lot 14, a copy of said map having been filed with the town clerk or take any other action relative thereto. And the informational summary. The so-called Kuhn parcel appears to be the only parcel within the project area which has not been rezoned to Green Business Park, presumably due to the fact that this parcel was not yet under agreement when the other parcels were rezoned to Green Business Park at the November 8th, 2010 special town meeting. Is there a motion to put Article 15 on the warrant?
So moved.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just
Hearing-
one quick question.
Yes, Mr.
So all these planning articles that we just voted, were those submitted by the planning board?
Mr. Fennessy?
I'm not sure, it predates me. Do you know if it's?
Well, they would have to
It
be.
would have, I don't.
Okay, just wanted-
Who else could?
The redevelopment authority could have
Yeah.
put them
No.
forward too.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, both of them did.
You did it jointly?
Yeah.
Did you hear that? They did it jointly,
Okay,
so.
thank you. All right. Is there a motion to put Article 15 on the warrant?
I made that motion.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
And again, I just want to emphasize, for each of these zoning articles, we're not voting to recommend them. These are just to put them on the warrant.
Just putting them on the warrant.
Wanna make
That's
sure people
all.
know.
We plan, I think we discussed earlier, we plan on taking no action on the zoning articles. We're just putting them on the warrant. Article 16, another zoning
Done.
article. Home rule petition to exempt.
We did that this
Oh, we did do that one,
We
I'm
did that
sorry.
already.
Thank you. Article 17, acceptance of Mass General Law for unclaimed property. We did that at the last meeting. Article 18.
We did.
We also did. Article 19, I believe we did.
Yeah.
Article 20. Article 21. The moratorium on mounted solar photovoltaic installations. I believe, Ms. Bogarts, this was yours, right? So I'll let you read this one, and then we can take our.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken about it a couple times. In essence, it's a 12-month moratorium that basically acknowledges that there have been and could be issues with the way that solar installations have gone in town. And it tells residents that we see, we hear, and that we're paying attention to things. And this would ask the town and give the town 12 months to work, town officials, town employees, residents, outside experts, anyone, work together to talk about things. And at the last meeting, I believe, I forget who it was, someone had said, well, what would happen if this passes? What would happen with this fall by the wayside? And, I went and I wanted to think of how to elaborate on it. And it's more than just a new solar bylaw committee. That was not my intent in proposing this. If you look at all of the things that I would hope and propose would be done, it would involve a lot of people. Town officials, or everyone, conduct a review of Carver zoning bylaw and review bylaws in other communities. Well, clearly, I think that should include the planning board, but that could include other people. But that's looking at the actual zoning bylaw as written and what in the bylaw should change. So that can include a multitude of people. Undertake a planning process that addresses potential impacts of solar voltaic installations in Carver. That can involve a lot of people, a lot of conversations. And I'm not trying to make this seem over-encompassing, but it's just not another bylaw committee. Installations on health, safety, and welfare. Well, I know the Conservation Commission has been involved in something recently, and environmental issues have come up. So in that year, the town can talk to environmental experts on what it is, or do more research on materials used and stuff. It just gives us more time. How to thoroughly regulate and approve the installations. as far as I know, since my time on the board, no pilot agreements have been executed. I don't know how many have, but this would be a good time to take for interim town administrator, whenever one comes up, to research what is a good way for pilots to be structured, what is an appropriate way, talk to other town administrators, do research on the industry, because it came to us and it was so new. We were pioneers in this. So kind of making stuff up and hoping it works. Again, I go back to the building inspector with the fees. He seemed to think they just kind of came out of thin air. So let's do the research. That can involve the building department, and we do fees here, so it would come to us too. So it's really just a chance for everyone in town hall or involved in the town, live here, anyone involved in the town, to have discussions, ask questions, do research, seek out information, and think, what's working, what could change, what should change, what should we suggest? Maybe it comes back to town meeting next year with bylaw changes or other changes, maybe not, but this gives us a chance, because it ends, which may include but not limited to the presentation of suggested bylaw amendments. Again, this does not change the bylaw. It does not take away the solar ability. It's just a 12-month pause showing residents that we are paying attention to things and that we acknowledge that things should be looked at more closely. So, that was long, but
No, that's fine.
it's more than a solar bylaw committee. It's not just that, so.
Thank you. Questions, thoughts from the board?
Just have a quick question. I think we talked about it last time too, Jen, that Article 44 is a similar one? That was a citizen.
I know that there were
Petition.
two petition articles.
Petition,
One
yeah.
of the petition articles I submitted, because again, Mr. LaFawn hadn't gotten back to me about a placeholder, so one of them, I don't know the number, was the petition article that I submitted, and if we vote to recommend this, then on town meeting floor, I would pull this. The other one, I do not know where it came from. I have no involvement in it. I don't even know what number it is.
Yeah,
but-
well, I think there's two. There's Article 44
Okay.
and Article 45. Both appear to be pretty,
I was only
Pretty
involved
similar.
in one of them, and the wording should, basically be the same.
any other thoughts from the board on this?
I guess my only, so the citizen, we don't vote to put these on because they were put on. I mean, I'm sorry, they were submitted.
Well, we already voted to put Article 21 on the warrant, I believe. Correct, Ms. Weston?
Yes.
I believe we're talking about right now whether to recommend or not
Gotcha.
recommend. It's already on the warrant.
Okay. I guess my question then is, if more than one article on the same issue is brought before the town meeting, what do we do?
Mr. Fennessy, can you speak to that?
The other petition articles, you would hope that they withdraw them if this one goes through, because this will be before the other ones come up.
Okay.
If it comes up, gets voted down, it's gotta go before the town to vote it down, that it's already been
Okay.
passed.
The other
redundant at
residents
that
who
point.
put those petition articles on, they could just withdraw them, correct?
Yes, and not move them, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? for anyone?
Okay, so I guess I would make a motion to recommend Article 21 on, to town meeting.
I'll
second.
it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
That's two.
3-2. Yeah, 3-2 in favor.
Who was opposed?
I was opposed, and Ms. Ewens was opposed. All right. Article 22, amend Section 3580, exemptions from large-scale ground-mounted solar voltaic installations. Mr. Fennessy, do you have any information on Article 22?
No, just what's on the bottom, the informational
Is this,
summary.
is this in connection to the North Carver project?
I don't believe so. This is on ground mounted.
And is this a, if I may, Mr. Chair, is this a planning board article? I don't see a sponsor here.
No.
Do you recall?
Yeah, I want to say it's RDA.
Sorry?
I think it's RDA. I'm not sure. I'll check into that for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
if you look in the informational summary, it references the
GBD.
Green
GBD
business.
Yeah, the green.
district. So I would assume that it's related to the others.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Oh, yeah, because the roof of the building will be solar. So it probably is to do with that, you know,
but when-
allowing it.
When the final warrant comes out, we'll know which board or
Yeah,
put it on the warrant, the way we usually do.
Yep, yep.
yeah, we haven't taken any action of this at all, right? We haven't,
No.
we haven't put this on the warrant yet. Okay, well, let me read it. So I read the Article 22, the informational summary. The warrant article proposes a limited exemption for roof-mounted solar for a new non-residential building in the Green Business Park District because the size of the solar facility required by the MEPA certificate for the project may well exceed the 250 kilowatt and 1 acre threshold established as exempt under the current zoning bylaw. The proposed change addresses the need to provide rooftop solar and at a level as mandated by the MEPA Section 61 finding for this project. Yeah, and I believe that must have a connection to the
Yeah, it is.
the North Carver project. Is there
And is this just a motion to recommend, to put it on the warrant?
just a motion to put it on the warrant, that's all.
I'll move that we put Article 22 on the warrant.
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
So if we're reading this correctly, then one of the buildings in the new project wants to have solar on the roof.
Yeah, not wants to, it's mandated.
Ma-
No,
By
By
Environmental
me.
Policy Act.
right.
Oh, okay.
But the,
So this just allows it to be done within the zoning bylaw.
Okay, here's a silly question. Let's say that Article 21 gets passed. Well, that would be different, right? That would be a mounted solar installation. Those are ground mounted. Forget that silly question.
It is roof mounted.
Right, okay.
Any further discussion on Article 22?
I have one. Why isn't this a separate article? Because it's under the large-scale ground mount solar. If we're talking about being put on a building, then why wouldn't it have its own section area just for that one?
So there's an exemption because it's over the kilowatt hours that are allowed by the bylaw.
and it's over the
And
1
it's,
acre
and it's
threshold.
mandated to have because it's such a big building.
Right.
That it's gonna have so many solar panels that it brings in too much
Right.
energy. So it's something that I believe you should put on the warrant and let it be debated. Where it's mandated.
Anything else on the board?
So I guess, so I'm a little bit confused then. I agree with what Bob said, so the large-scale ground-mounted solar, but this is a roof-mounted solar. Do we have any bylaw that covers roof-mounted solar now?
I don't think so. I think that's why it's going as an exemption on the basic solar.
So the informational summary says the project may well exceed the 250 kilowatt and 1 acre threshold established as exempt under current zoning.
Right.
So if they're required to put more than that on there, then they'd have to go through the rigmarole of getting a special permit. I guess that's what that's saying. Unless this passes.
Yeah, and again, this is just an exemption for the Green Business Park District. This is not
Right.
a town-wide exemption.
Okay, so again, I go back to my silly question then, that if this is under the exemption from large-scale ground-mounted solar, and then Article 21 gets passed for a moratorium, does that mean,
I can't
No,
speak to
it
that.
means it's exempt from that bylaw, this bylaw or any other.
this, okay, so if
Yep.
we vote on this, that means that's,
If it passes a
Exempt.
town meeting, yeah. I mean, again.
Mr. Newman?
Mr. Bell.
This is just the Green Business Park, and they're not going to be putting anything up within a year. I can tell you right now. They're not going to start building or construction within a year.
That's true.
That
Sure.
ain't
Yeah,
going to
they're
happen.
quite a bit of ways.
Okay, they're a long way away from any
Good
type of
point.
groundbreaking for it, so.
But I guess I see their point where large-scale ground-mounted, the exemption is not even asking for ground-mounted, it's roof-mounted. So I see where my fellow members are bringing up that it doesn't even seem to fit in here. It's just kind of throwing in, roof-mounted solar doesn't apply to the ground-mounted bylaw. So I see where they're coming from.
But again,
Well-
all we're doing is voting to put this on the warrant. We can
Yeah.
let, this discussion can happen at town meeting, and the residents can do what they feel they need to do with it.
Yeah.
Right, and if council thinks it should go in its own section, I'm sure they'll let us know. But it does say that large-scale ground-mounted solar is defined as those with a minimum nameplate capacity of 250 kilowatt hours or greater, or covering 1 acre or more of land. It doesn't specify whether it's on the ground or on a building. And this is definitely going to be more than 1 acre of land.
Definitely.
So it probably goes here, because it doesn't specify whether it's on in the definition.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
ground mounted, and then the exception says roof mounted. So I see where the guys were coming from with the, does it make sense?
It is a little confusing.
I see
It's
where they're
definitely a
coming
little
from.
confusing. All right. Anything else? We have a motion and a second to put Article 22 on the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
3-2. All right. Article 23, we already voted on. Article 24, we voted on. Article 25, we'll be leaving for our meeting with the Finance Committee. So that brings us to Article 26, the Town Administrator Bylaw, that we spent quite a bit of time at a couple of meetings discussing. So hopefully we can get through this in relatively short order. We have discussed this a lot. I think when you look at the different spots in here, and again, we've taken multiple votes on individual portions of this. What we'll do is we'll come up with a bylaw, and at the end, we'll take one vote to either recommend or not recommend. So 3.1.1.1, I believe we found common ground on, and that wording is there. 3.1.1.2, correct me if I'm wrong here, folks, but I believe we found common ground on that. 3.3.1.4, I believe we found common ground on. And then that brings us to 3.3.3.4, where I believe we got hung up last time. And there's some updated wording here. Ms. Hewens, is this your proposed wording, is that?
It is.
Okay.
It is, and if I may, I'll just address that really quickly. So it concerned me to leave the bylaw the way it is, saying that the town administrator can't engage in any business occupation during such service unless such action is approved in advance by the select board. So that troubled me. I wanted that not to happen again. But on the other hand, it also occurred to me that we can't tell a town administrator what he or she can do in their hometown. So for example, if they want to run for an office in the town where they live, I don't think we have any business telling them they can't. And I've tried to cover pretty much everything that I thought a town administrator should be allowed to engage in. So such part-time activities that are typically permitted to other appointed officials in the town of Carver if they do not conflict with or negatively affect the performance of the duties outlined in this job description. And then listing some of them. These include, but are not limited to, elected and appointed positions in other municipalities, activities related to professional development such as attending conferences, attending or delivering courses, and remunerative activities undertaken outside of full-time hours devoted to the position of town administrator. It also excludes activities that are required under an existing contractual agreement, the existence of which was communicated to the select board prior to appointment to the position. So if we go to hire someone and they tell us, I'm a lawyer part-time, or whatever the case may be, and we're okay with that, that's different. But that means that person has to have been doing that prior to applying for the position. So it's not something they can start once they come here and then decide they want to go work for someone else. Is that, I know it's a long sentence, but if there are any questions, happy to try to make it more clear.
Questions, thoughts from the board?
So they can,
Yeah.
they can be elected or appointed in presumably the town in which they live, but not in Carver. They can attend conferences, they can teach classes, Bridgewater or wherever. And if they had a part-time job or side thing that they do, if they're a Realtor part-time and they tell us this in advance and we're okay with that, that's fine. But they can't start being the Realtor or the lawyer once they're hired here.
Thoughts from the board, Mr. Belvin?
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for writing this. I do
thing.
appreciate that. I still, to allow them to have a part-time job along with this, I mean, the town administrator, we want him focused here in the town. That's our focus.
Well, it says those remunerative activities taken outside of full-time hours that were communicated to us prior to the appointment. So again, someone can't come in here and then decide they want to go work for
Right.
person X, particularly not in Carver.
Right. But if they, does that also include if, while they start working here, they want to, in their own town, they want to be part of the finance committee of their town and say, hey, then they can't do that?
No, they can do that. It says, because that wouldn't conflict with the duties outlined in this job description. So it includes, but is not limited to, elected and appointed position in other municipalities. And the intent there is that if they want to be on their hometown finance committee, they should be able to do that.
I would hope they not, to be
Well,
honest.
I wanted to make this really
Right.
clear, because I didn't want it to sound like they couldn't do something on their own time
Right.
in their hometown. And that wasn't really clear. you
Right.
know?
You're right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Mr. Chair, can I ask Mr. Fennessy's opinion?
Sure.
You've been on all sides of this, so.
I think this is a good way to do it. I think it kind of gives that notice that's necessary to the board, because then you just don't hire the person. If it's too much, if they say, oh yeah, I have a real estate license and I have a law license and also I'm on a finance committee and I'm gonna run for selectman in my town. Yeah, okay, bye. You don't hire them, I mean, if it's upfront and it's notice, I like that. I think that's a good way to do it. Then it's up to the board to decide, on the person. But before, I think it was a little too restrictive where you couldn't do anything as a town administrator in Carver on your own time. So basically, you would be owning that person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
Well,
You
if I
know,
could just
on
point
what
out
they could
before,
do.
that wasn't the language before, though. The current language in there is just that it's up to the Board of Selectmen.
Right. No, I'm talking about the discussions last meeting.
And that's
That were-
what I was trying to get rid of too, that phrase "up to the board of selectmen," by inserting this. These such things have to be communicated in advance.
Yeah, and ultimately, it is up to the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Ultimately, you will always have that authority.
But you're going into it knowing that,
Yeah.
rather than having a surprise and a political board, a 4-to-1 board or something. So.
And just my own thoughts, I understand your thoughts here, I appreciate all the work, you obviously did quite a bit of work in putting this wording in. I continue to believe that, I like nice, simple wording for for bylaws. So I continue to believe that the wording we had before, where it's just, if somebody wants to do it, they come to the board, the select board, they ask permission, and we say yes or no. That's, that's just my thoughts, and, you know, those were my thoughts at the last meeting, and they remain my thoughts, so.
No, I respect that.
Any other thoughts on this? Mr. Hoff?
Just have a question. So since these include but are not limited to elected and appointed positions in other municipalities, activities related to professional development such as attending conferences, attending and delivering courses, and remunerative activities. And then it says that if they're under existing contractual agreement, they have to be communicated to the board. So I know, Sarah, you had said that once they become town administrator, they can't then become a Realtor or a,
Well, I think that that's what this is saying, without saying it, that it's,
Okay.
I'm hoping this is a little more inclusive, so saying, if I may use your example, Mr. Fennessy, so he had some legal cases in front of him when he came to us. He told us that.
Right.
And we were, okay, we're good with that. And obviously, those legal cases are contractual, so.
well, I just guess my confusion is when the town administrator may engage in such part-time activities, and it lists the examples, but then it says, only under, so on the second half is under their existing contractual agreement. So, you know what I mean?
No, but it's an or.
Which was
So
communicated.
part-time activities that are typically permitted to other appointed officials in the town of Carver if they do not conflict, et cetera, or activities that are required. So it's a list of these things, or activities that are required under an existing contractual agreement.
Okay.
That was communicated prior to
Right.
becoming the town
So,
administrator.
so it's not part-time activities that are under contractual agreement. That's a separate section.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Fennessy.
so the only suggestion on this now I would make is, in the middle of it where it says, these include but are not limited to elected and appointed positions in other municipalities. And not all appointed positions are in municipalities. For instance, I was appointed on on different committees of things like the Best in Interest in Canines, which provides, I was on the board of directors, which provides vests for police dogs, canines. I was on United Way. I was appointed as a board member on the United Way. I wouldn't, a town administrator wouldn't be able to do that because it's not a municipality.
So
So I
could-
think you gotta kind of couch that.
Could we just
municipality.
change it to
Sure, appointment.
these include but are not limited to elected and appointed positions?
No, in other municipalities and other organizations, or other organizations. I mean,
Yeah,
Doesn't that cover it?
organizations cover, yeah.
so, I'm sorry?
No, I think that's okay, as long
Okay.
as it's not just municipalities.
Got it. So it would be appointed positions in other municipalities or other organizations, because a municipality is an organization. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a good point.
Do you have that wording, Ms. Weston?
So just after other municipalities add, or organizations.
Are there any other thoughts on 3.3.3.4?
Well, question. I didn't know you were on the board of that neat vest for canines. Sorry, I don't remember the name. So the way it's written, because I think that's admirable. I think it's neat that you are our town administrator, and yet, you know, that was part of you too. So if we had a town administrator who was not on elected or appointed to something like that, but 2 years into a contract, got interest in it, does this mean?
But that's not a contractual agreement.
Okay, because I would hate to preclude someone from doing something, you know, admirable like that, or
Yeah.
joining like
No,
their
that-
town's recreation committee
No,
or
that's a
something.
part-time that's
Okay.
included under part-time activities.
Great, okay, and then the only other kind of nitpicky thing, because Sarah is very smart. I had to look up what remunerative meant.
It just means you get money for it.
Yeah.
Well, but it's remunerative.
Oh.
So
okay.
you switch the M and the N, because, yeah,
That's totally my fault.
well, I didn't know what it meant.
Thank you.
So, switched it. Oh, you had it right the first time.
I
Sarah.
did.
Uh-oh.
I got Elaine to switch it.
There you go.
I'm like, that doesn't look right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other thoughts on this? Mr. Belvin, did you?
No, I was going to make a motion to, that we approve this language and include it in the warrant.
All right. We have that motion. Is there a second?
I'm seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
No.
All right. All right. So
what
that,
was it?
Who was the nose?
What was the vote? 3-2.
Who were the nose? I'm sorry.
myself
Jim
and Mr. Hawkins. All right, so that brings us to the end, well, I'm sorry, then we have the wording that Mr. Belvin proposed at the last meeting, that I think we asked for an opinion from town council on. And, Mr. Fennessy, did you speak to Mr. Zessen
I did.
about this? So would you like to just update us? I know we have
I'm sorry, which article are we on?
this is the town administrator bylaw still. This is the wording that Mr. Belvin proposed that we include about the disciplinary function. We have the opinion from Mr. Zessen.
Okay.
Mr. Fennessy?
So Mr. Zessen took each section and gave an opinion on it, so. Yep.
So this is privileged attorney-client communication. Can we bring that up into once we discuss it, then it becomes
Public, yeah.
it becomes public. Just want to let,
But I think it's for discussion that I don't think it needs to be privileged beyond.
no, that's
today.
fine. I just wanted to clarify that
Okay.
it's going to be put out there.
Mr. Fennessy?
Good point. Let me think about that a second.
Okay.
So can I help with one thing
Sure.
while you're thinking about that? All right. I'm willing to take all this out due to this communication, but I just want the board, and I just wrote this in big bold letters. If something happens, we need to act swiftly. Period, cut and dry. No more waiting. We have to act swiftly. Those are my comments, and I pull it.
All right,
Okay,
Mr.
so it's privileged.
We appreciate
You
it.
happy?
We could do a couple of things. I think I would prefer, before we vote, to recommend the updated town administrator bylaw, that we get a copy of the entire rewritten bylaw, so we can all read it. We have a copy of the changes here, but we don't have a copy of the entire bylaw as it'll be written, so with the.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, that vote that we took 3-2, was that opposed to putting it
No,
on the
no,
warrant?
that was just
Put on
to
the warrant.
approve the wording for 3.3.3.4.
Oh.
That's what that was for. We now would have to vote to approve, we already, did we put the town administrator, did we take a vote to put this on the warrant? We did.
I think so.
Doesn't
I
say on that.
don't
No, I'm
recall. I
sorry.
don't
No,
have
that's a
a note down
recommendation.
here on mine that we did.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a motion, we put it on the warrant.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to put the town administrator bylaw on the warrant. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? With the board's permission, I would like to wait until we have a copy of the complete rewritten bylaw, so we can all see exactly what we're voting on before we can do that at the next meeting. Any opposition to that? All right, so we'll table that until the next meeting. All right. So Article 27, the yard sale bylaw change, I think that was proposed by Mr. Belvin. I think you all should have a copy of the bylaw here. It's 8.3. It's about the shortest bylaw
Yeah.
we'll ever have to read.
And as of right now, I mean, just take out, I want the whole thing removed, to be totally, because I have yet to see us or any other board approve a permit for a yard sale or a flea market in this town. I mean, if we have articles and bylaws, then if they're not gonna be utilized or followed, why even have them? So, I mean, I understand the point. I think a flea market's a lot different. But a yard sale is a yard sale, and I don't think we should have permits for those. So even if we just remove the yard sale part of that bylaw and say flea markets need a permit.
I would, well, okay. Thoughts from the board?
Well, my feeling is, maybe it's good that this came to light. We are supposed to be giving, and I was unaware of this, this board is supposed to be giving them permits. However, there's no charge for those permits, so I don't really see this as an issue.
I guess my concern would be, and I haven't seen this in Carver, but I have seen it in other towns, specifically Plymouth sometimes on a Saturday during the summer, where you'll drive by a house on a main street and there'll be actually traffic problems because you have folks that have yard sales every single day during the summertime, and they're on main roads, and there's people parked on both sides of the roads, and there's people trying to walk across the main road, and it's an issue. And I haven't seen that happen in Carver, but it could happen. And I think if you remove this, then you have really no way of dealing with that. That's
Yeah.
my only concern with removing.
That's my problem, too.
So as silly as it sounds, and it you know, I understand, I agree with you for the most part, but I said I have had experiences in other towns where I think it could be an issue, so I'm reluctant myself to remove this.
Can I ask, if there's no fee for the permit, is there a fee for non-compliance? If you come across one of those yard sales that's a traffic issue and they don't have a permit, what's the?
Well, the bylaw doesn't speak to that, it's only one sentence. It says,
Actually-
shall get a permit from the,
At the end of our bylaws, there is a section on penalties if you break any of the bylaws. There is a penalty
oh,
area
yeah,
of it,
but just not in that particular,
not in that
addressing
particular
that
one, but
particular
it
issue.
covers the whole bylaw. I think it's like $50.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Hall?
I agree with Bob on this, that the yard sale, I mean, everybody has yard sales, and I think the majority, probably 99% of the citizens don't know you have to get a permit. I never knew this was here, and, you know, I'm sure plenty of other people, so I kind of agree. Maybe we can just take the yard sale. Flea markets, I don't know how many flea markets we've ever had in town, but that should be
Not too
something
many,
that's,
but, yeah.
right, that should have a permit. Yes, I'd lean more towards just taking the yard sale verbiage out of that.
All right, so is that, Mr. Belvin, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we remove yard sales from 8.3.1 of our bylaws.
So it would just read, all flea markets held in the town of Carver shall require a permit issued by the Board of Selectmen at no charge?
Yes,
And obviously, Board of Selectmen to be changed to Select Board.
yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No?
No.
No? All right, so 3-2? Okay,
Now, is that to put it on the warrant or to recommend?
That was the warrant.
that was to put it on the warrant. Now we have
That was
to,
to remove the words.
well, that's right, that was to change the wording.
But that was a recommendation?
Motion to remove the words yard sale.
That was a motion on the wording.
Great.
Now, okay, now we need a motion to put it on the warrant.
Make a motion, we put it on the warrant.
Second.
All right, motion and a second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. And motion to approve, motion to recommend. All in favor?
I'll make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor to recommend?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
No.
All right. Read it to. All right, so now we're to the burglar alarm bylaw, which is, again, you have a little longer, 6.5.
Yeah. So I brought this up too because when this was enacted in our town, burglar alarms were a constant problem with our police department, going off. Burglar burglar alarms have gotten a whole lot better now, and they're not a whole lot out there because we have cameras now. So I think this whole burglar alarm system bylaw is unneeded. So I think we should just remove it totally from our bylaws. I mean, the only time a burglar alarm system would be having something with a business, not a residence, but this was mostly drawn out from residences. So, I don't know, I just felt it's time that we get rid of this one.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Ewing.
through you, have you spoken to the police chief about this?
No, I haven't, no.
Because the article, really focuses on the police chief and police department's role in this, so I was just wondering.
So I'll make a motion that we remove this burglar alarm system 6.5 from our, actually to put it on the warrant.
To put motion on, you want to?
Motion to put it on the warrant.
That we remove.
Remove the
6.5.
burglar alarm system bylaw.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
All right. Motion and a second. Now discussion.
I see common sense merit in this, but I do agree with Sarah. There's a whole lot of police station, and I would want to know how many times did they respond to a burglar alarm? And it's relevant because I think it was yesterday on my way to bring my daughter to preschool. I have a scanner, and the fire department responded. It was to Carver Wine and Spirits, and I didn't hear the whole call, but it did involve a burglar alarm going off. So like they are responding to things like this. So I would just want more input from them before I scrap it. I'm not saying there's not merit to it, but this is one of those I want to know how much it's affecting the town. So I'm not saying it's bad, but I'd want to know more.
Anyone else?
I agree, I don't think we should really have the right almost to do anything with this without consulting with the police chief.
I also agree. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to put this on the warrant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
All right, the motion fails. Okay, Article 29, we already took care of. Article 30 is another zoning article. I'll read it. Article 30, amend sections 3166 and 3347, site plan review performance and parking lot lighting standards. And the informational summary, the lighting standards above are not designed for an industrial facility of the nature contemplated by the project, nor do the zoning bylaws provide for a waiver standard to modify these provisions. Moreover, the provision of light poles with such a low height will both present a safety issue with trucks and other vehicles due to low pole heights, and will require a significantly higher number of light poles at the property without a significant benefit to the surrounding neighborhood. And a photometric plan will be able to demonstrate no spillover effect with lighting, which will have light poles at a greater height and with more focused lighting with appropriate cut shields and other mitigation measures. All right, is there a motion to put Article 30 on the warrant?
I move that we put Article 30 on the warrant.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of putting Article 30 on the warrant? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
3-2. Article 31 is another zoning article. Article 31, zoning bylaw, section 3500 signs amendment. And let me see if I can find the informational summary. It's quite a long article. Here it is. Informational summary. The purpose for this change is to give the applicant more flexibility for attaining a sign permit. The applicant would need to file a building permit application with the building department and not have to wait for a planning board meeting that may happen twice a month. Also, this would give the planning board more time for their planning duties that they are required to do. At their meeting on 11/23/21, the planning board agreed to support this change. Is there a motion to put Article 31 on the warrant?
I'll make a motion to put Article 31 on the
So,
warrant.
a second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Well, I guess I was surprised to see this one come up, because how many times in the last, gosh, I don't know, since I've been on here, were we told zoning enforcement couldn't happen because we didn't have a full-time building inspector? Countless times. So I was really surprised to see that the planning board was bringing forth an article that would put even more responsibility on a building inspector.
If I may, he's not just a building inspector, he's a building commissioner.
Okay.
And so a building commissioner is the zoning enforcement officer.
Right,
The
so-
planning board doesn't enforce the zoning.
Right, so, okay, so maybe I misspoke, but I was surprised to see the planning board wanted to take themselves out of something and put more on that person's plate, when for the longest time,
But they never did, they don't do zoning enforcement in the first place, but they need someone there to support, they make the zoning, and then they need someone to help them enforce it.
right,
And that's what was happening, there wasn't a full-time commissioner.
yeah. But this, I mean, this is just putting more on that person. You deal with signs completely and leave us out of it. I was just surprised.
Because I think from our planning board days, when there were sign issues, they said the building commissioner is the one that can enforce that, but yeah, we had part-time during our time.
Yeah.
And that never happened, so now with a full-time building commissioner, they can be the bad guy.
As they're supposed to be.
Right, yep, that's a good,
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to put Article 31 on the warrant. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
3-2. Article 32 is another zoning article. Article 32, amend Section 3521, permitted signs for Green Business Park District, the informational summary. At the time the Green Business Park District was adopted, it appears that sign regulations were not assigned to property zoned under this Green Business Park District. This proposed zoning amendment serves to assign specific sign regulations to the district. Is there a motion to put Article 32 on the warrant?
I move that we put Article 32, permitted signs for Green Business Park District, on the warrant.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
3-2. Article 33 is another zoning article. Article 33, amend Section 2230, use regulation schedule, industrial allow privately owned wastewater treatment facilities as an accessory use. And let me see if I can find the informational summary for Article 33.
Top of 32. page
Want me to read it?
32.
Yes, because I haven't got there yet, so.
All right, informational summary. The zoning bylaw regulates private wastewater treatment plants as a principal use. It appears to be generated toward regulating sewage sludge plants which had historically been permitted within the town. The article seeks to clarify the intent of having privately owned wastewater treatment facilities which are needed to treat wastewater as a part of a subdivision or commercial or industrial development, not otherwise serviced by public sewer, are all allowed as a customary accessory use and structure by right.
Thank you, Mr. Belvin.
No problem.
All right, is there a motion to put Article 33 on the warrant?
Does this have any reference to this project? The project in North Carver?
Can we have some discuss, Mr. Chairman, can we have a discussion
Sure.
before we get a vote?
Yeah, Mr. Fennessy, do you have any insight into Article 33?
I don't believe it does, To your question.
Do we know who sponsored
Privately
this?
owned wastewater.
Do we know who sponsored this article?
I don't. I can get back to you on that, I don't know.
Okay, would we want to wait on 33 until the next meeting so they can get us some more information? on
That's
it?
a good
Go ahead,
idea.
Mr. Belvin.
So, just a little discussion. I know this is something along that format because it does have industrial development. And if I remember correctly, our bylaws, that wastewater treatment is regulated under our bylaws, okay? And this would turn around and make it a by right. That's what it appears they're trying to do, where they have to have something to treat wastewater. If they can't do a standard Title V tank with a leaching field or something like that, bigger complexes. And it says in here, a subdivision, so a certain subdivision, like one that was proposed off of Silver Street there, where they would have a large amount of houses and apartments or whatnot congregated together, it's a lot cheaper to have a wastewater treatment plant for something like that. It's a smaller area and where they can discharge or whatnot. This would allow that to happen and it'd be by right, it wouldn't be by permit. So that's what it appears to be.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, the first part of the informational summary, I would really like to know who sponsored this, actually.
Yeah.
It says the zoning bylaw regulates private wastewater treatment plants as a principal use and appears to be geared toward regulating sewage sludge plants that had historically been permitted by the town. This informational summary doesn't give us enough information because I don't know whether it's talking about this proposed zoning bylaw or the current zoning bylaw, because if it's the current one, then why are they doing this? If it already regulates it as a principal use.
It's very hard to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Like I said,
All right. Mr. Fennessy, could you
We
make a
will
note
look into
to
it, yep.
maybe have someone come in or get us some more information for the next meeting on this? All right. Article 34, another zoning, Article 34, 9.1.8, earth removal conditional exemptions. To see if the town will vote to amend the Carver General Bylaw, Chapter 9.1, earth removal, Section 9.1.8, earth removal conditional exemptions, as shown below, to add a new exemption as subparagraph E, with additions shown in bold, or to take any other action relative thereto. And the informational summary. While it appears that the proposed project is exempt from the earth removal requirements of the zoning bylaw, under zoning bylaw definition of earth removal, there is a separate earth removal general bylaw, Chapter 9.1, which does not appear to include an applicable exemption, Chapter 9.1.8, for our project. In order to streamline the review process, avoid duplication of effort, and continue to monitor earth removal operations as a part of the customary project review process, this change is proposed to include an exemption from the earth removal general bylaw if earth removal is already being reviewed under a separate zoning process. It appears the general bylaw is intended to apply to a commercial sand and gravel, and the proposed modifications preserve the town's right to continue to regulate a commercial sand and gravel operation. With such exemption, the town remains protected, as such earth removal operations would still be reviewed as part of the site plan review or subdivision review, in addition to review by the Conservation Commission.
RDA.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion to put Article 34 on the warrant?
Mr. Chairman, I think we need more information on this.
I would agree. Mr. Fennessy, can you add that to your list? All right. And I think, looking at Article 35, I think if the board has no exemption, no problem. I think we'd like to get some more earth removal, or some more information on that too. So if you could add that to your,
Is that Article 34?
well, Article 34, we already asked for more information on, and Article 35, I think we'd like some more information as well.
Yeah, there's no informational summary either.
No, there isn't.
And there really should be, because it's quite a long article.
Yes, there is.
Was that RDA as well?
That was planning board.
That was planning board?
All right, and then we are to the petition articles, which we have no control over. So I think that's it. Mr. Fennessy, did we miss anything?
No, I don't think, did you miss anything?
Ms. Weston, no, we good? All right. All right. Moving on. Minutes, licenses, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. On the agenda, it states our next meeting is 3/15/2022, but I believe our next meeting is really March 8th, 2022. That's a joint meeting with the Finance Committee. And I know there was a little difficulty because there's a lot of meetings that night, finding a location for the meeting. I believe the location, Mr. Fennessy, am I correct, is going to be the police station?
Police station.
Meeting room, correct?
Yeah.
At 6 PM.
Do you want to start earlier to go over these few? And that way they can get in and get out?
I think we have that meeting on the 8th, we have our regular meeting on the 15th.
Okay, you want to put it off till?
So I think we can, we'll see how much time we have on the 8th. We have those two meetings, so I think between those two meetings, we can accomplish what we need to. If we really get in a bind, we could start the meeting on the 15th a little early if we need more time to get through. But I think we have enough time.
So 6 o'clock on the 8th?
6 o'clock, yeah, let's stick with 6 o'clock. And let's see.
The meeting on the 15th, excuse me, is that at 6 o'clock as well?
They're
On the
both-
15th?
Both are scheduled for 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Unless something comes up that we need an executive session for, but I'm unaware of anything right
Okay.
now. Okay, approval of the minutes of February 1st, 2022.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Approval of the executive session minutes of February 1st, 2022, and not for release.
Make a motion to approve the executive session minutes of 2/1/2022,
And not for release.
and not for release.
I'll second that.
You have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is
I'm
unanimous.
recusing. I wasn't there.
Oh, I'm
That
sorry.
one.
Thank you, Mr. Belvin. Let's see, request for Best Buddies Challenge Road Race, June 4th, 2022. We have some information in the packet.
I'll make a motion, we approve. David? Go ahead.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Belvin?
It's been a professional organization that's been going through our town for many years now, and I think they do a great job, everything from setting up to picking up. I'm quite impressed with how they run it, so, thank you.
Thank you. I agree. It's been a well-run event for quite some time. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Select Board notes, there are none. So, Select Board community announcements. Mr. Hoffman?
I would just like to have everybody keep Shane in their prayers and thoughts as he's battling his ongoing cancer.
Thank you. Ms. Ewens?
My sentiments exactly. I agree.
Thank you. Ms. Bogart? Mr. Belvin?
Yeah, over the many weeks, we sit there and watch TV and listen on the radio about Ukraine, and I have to say, I'm dismayed by our leadership in our government. These people that live over there are being attacked, and they're standing up and fighting, and I wish we were with them, 110% standing with them. And I just want to say, protect your town, protect your state, protect your country. You can't have this happen. So, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Belvin. I have nothing this evening. I would echo Mr. Hoffman's words about Shane, and let's keep him in our thoughts. And with that,
Can I have a question before we adjourn? I never asked, how did the COVID test distribution day
I
go?
was just going to bring that up. So we met with people on Saturday and had 2 lines coming in. We really only had to use 1 line. It was slow but steady. Mark Townsend and Kevin Forgio were both there the whole time. I was there for about an hour and a half in the morning. They came in slow but steady, but it went well. Yet there's still boxes of the COVID tests that are available. So those are available now in the town hall. If anybody wants to come in and grab 1 or 2, they can do that. They can see the Board of Health agent, or if he's not there, they can come up and see me.
yeah, if I could just quickly add to that, I really want to thank Kevin Forg for putting that whole thing together. He not only did he attend, but his wife attended, stayed all day as well. And it was slow, but it was steady all day long. And I really think it was important to get those out
Yeah.
to the town. You know, it isn't often that we get a chance to directly save folks money. And every one of those tests would have cost, I think they're $29, $30 at the store. So every one we handed out saved somebody money. So I think it was very important. And as Mr. Fennessy stated, there are some left. And I think Mr. Forg, if I'm not correct, is going to announce a plan.
It's on the website.
Is it on the website
Yep,
now?
yep.
Okay.
The only thing I got out of it was a cold.
Well, it was a
Thank
mighty
you,
cold
Carver,
day.
for giving me that cold.
Did you test yourself and make sure it was just
Twice,
cold?
tested twice. There's 2 in the box. So I took 1 home and tested, and okay. So
So we're planning another distribution day?
I don't think he's
No.
going to have another distribution day. I think he's just going to let the public come in and pick them up. I don't know how many are left.
Yeah,
There's some, but I
And I
don't know
think
if
he
there's
was
that
looking
many.
at putting them in other places like the library. When people come in there and they want to get a book, they can get a test too.
And he did, just, again, so the public knows, prior to distributing them, he distributed them to all the parks. So Cranberry Village, South Meadow Village, all the various parks, all got a supply for their residents prior to the distribution day, which I think is part of the reason that was a little slow, because all those folks already had them. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I just want to thank Kevin as well. I went by later in the day and kind of thawed him out a little bit. He was a little chilly there.
Yeah.
But even at
It
that
was
time,
cold.
at that, we were there by a little afternoon, and there was still cars pulling in and out, so it was just throughout the day, but.
there were cars, we went till 1 o'clock, and there was, somebody pulled in at 1 minute of 1, so there
Yeah,
were
that
cars
was
there
good.
right to the end.
Yeah,
But
no.
anyway,
It's a great service that we offered.
it was well-run. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, everyone.